Today, carbon emissions are ballooning into a massive problem. The two major carbon-based house greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, have a high ability to retain both geothermal heat generated from the earth and radiation heat from the sun. The increased heating is changing the climate and weather of many different ecosystems and habitats. This change is so drastic that life is getting harder for more than just animals, including humans. In order to stop this runaway climate effect,
carbon emissions must be cut. Our claim is that carbon emissions cause climate change by putting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and contributing to climate change. To combat this issue, scientists are working on making new, efficient, renewable resources and cars to reduce pollution. First, we need to understand a little bit about carbon emissions. Early in Earth's history, according to Ed Pell's The Carbon Cycle, the Global Carbon Cycle, Crash Course number 46, the atmosphere is primarily superheated with lots of carbon. With the discussion of climate change, the amount of carbon emissions have increased by 50%. According to the video, A Brief History of Carbon Emissions. From 1995 to 2013, carbon emissions in the atmosphere exponentially increased. Many nations have met together to discuss about the rising climate change. It is estimated that 51.2% of carbon emissions come from households and 21.3% from driving. According to the case study, urban households, climate change, carbon emissions, and contributing factors. Other contributing factors can also lead to climate change.
We humans are part of a much larger system of living and non-living things. As Chapter 6.1 states, humans are part of the Earth's food and chemical webs. These food webs form feedback loops, which as Ed Puzzle, feedback loops how nature gets its rhythm explains. This means that part of the system affects how the system runs. When we pollute the environment, we damage food webs, resulting in habitat fragmentation and loss of biodiversity, according to Chapter 6.3. According to an article, A Clean Revolution, to combat this issue, new renewable energy sources have been developed and made cheaper. For example, since 2008, the price to install a solar panel had dropped by a staggering 75%. On top of that, article U.S. Energy Facts Explains mentions how the usage of coal dropped during 2008 to 2016. However, there is still a long way to go to meet the 2050 85% renewable energy quota, according to article Renewables Are the Key to a Climate-Safe World. National Geographic's video Renewable Energy 101 explains that there are two main reasons that renewable energies are so desirable. First of all, renewable energies will almost never run out. Sources like the wind and sun are practically limitless compared to the finite amount of non-renewable sources such as coal or oil. From our lab, Climate, Weather, and Trees, we learned that the temperatures have been steadily climbing in almost all parts of the world for decades now. In our lab, Climate and the Cryosphere has taught us that these temperature changes have caused glaciers to melt, sea levels to rise, and certain coastal cities to flood, creating major issues.
To alleviate this issue, humans have turned to developing renewable energy sources such as nuclear power. According to the video Nuclear Energy Explained by Kazan in a nutshell, humans have been able to produce electricity with nuclear power at a reasonably fair cost with far less carbon emissions. Furthermore, new energies are being developed and made cheaper, as described in case study Energy Efficacy and Renewable Energy, which focuses on renewable energy to reduce household carbon emissions in 4 regions of New York. It also found that by switching to renewable energy, an office could potentially save 45% of its budget it is normally required for energy.
On top of reducing carbon emissions, the creation of more effective cars with new methods of generating energy is necessary. According to Chapter 6.2 of the textbook, smog and air pollutants can disrupt the cleanliness of many ecosystems. In addition, according to 2 NASA case studies, carbon is rapidly changing the climate around the world, such as increasing wildfires and ocean acidification. Today, according to the Nova documentary Car of the Future, major vehicles are pioneering new technologies such as fuel cells, flex vehicles which burn ethanol and gasoline, cellulosic ethanol, ethanol from non-kernel portions of corn, and carbon fiber vehicles. Furthermore, we interviewed Mrs. Ma, California Air Resource Board researcher, and Kevin Young, the service manager of the Toyota Pasadena dealership, to see what is being done today to reduce carbon emission from cars.
Now, what is being done today to reduce carbon emissions in the vehicles that we drive in?
Okay, I think there are 2 ways. Okay, number one is we set up the emission standards for the vehicle we are using, and the other way we could reduce the carbon emission is that we promote alternative fuel.
Next, we asked Mr. Young what kind of cars are climate friendly.
Toyota does not believe that the battery or electric car is the future. They believe the fuel cell is the future, which is powered by an electric motor, but fueled from the energy from a fuel cell, which comes from hydrogen. Hydrogen comes from water. The only emission that comes out the tailpipe is water, and it's a non-emission, but it's the only thing that comes out the tailpipe.
The intention of all these different forms is to try to reduce overall aerosol concentrations and net radiation that both retain heat, as seen on the charts from Air, Water, Land, and Life, a Global Perspective lab. On the other hand, some articles, such as the University of Chicago article about the cost of renewable energies, state that costs are slightly higher than that of normal cars using non-renewable energy sources, some even being 70% cheaper due to market taxes on renewable energy. Still, paying a little bit more is well worth the cost if it helps preserve a balance of biodiversity on Earth. We need to be responsible of taking care of the many ecosystems on the planet, along with all the systems on the planet in general. To do this, we can make the most of renewable energy sources and alternative fuels for vehicles to make sure we live comfortably and in harmony with the rest of the Earth.